Jehovah's Witnesses just sold a former Kingdom Hall, Assembly Hall, in Sunnyside, New York for 16.3 million USD. But why? Well, in this video I ask, could this be part of a bigger pattern of property liquidation due to the mounting lawsuits? When we look at what's going on all over the world with the recent legal action, including the 3 new lawsuits filed in Kings County, New York by Robbins Kaplan legal firm, all involving allegations of child sexual abuse and decades of cover-ups by the organization. And I also dive into patterns revealed by legal history and international investigations, including how Jehovah's Witnesses have often shielded abusers and discouraged the victims from going to the police. So this might not just be a real estate management. This could be damage control when we look at the selling off of this big assembly hall. Well, let's take a look at this and we'll get right into it. Now, you all might remember Watchtower put out a video of the trip and fall case against the Queen's Assembly Hall. So this is the same assembly hall that's being sold here, or that has sold. So this is the Greenpoint Avenue Queen's Assembly Hall is what this is. It looks like it was purchased for about 4 million, and now they got 16 million out of it. It's a huge building. This is the development, the selling, Meridian Sales. They sold it, and yeah, this is just a confirmation that the record, it's recorded as selling for $16.3 million. Now, in case you don't remember the Queen's Assembly Hall, well, this guy did an article on it. Very nice article. He said it gave him nightmares. All these Egyptian guardians, 4 on each side of the main auditorium, where he says there's sconces now there. Well, he says the guardians were highly detailed, right down to their piercing, ever-watching eyes. Their arms folding across their shirtless chests were holding double lanterns designed to look like scepters. So, yeah, he says a lot of this has been redone. This particular individual grew up, went to that assembly hall. So he put some pictures in there for us to look at. There's some big ones of the auditorium. I'm going to pull this up a little bigger here if I can. So there's the auditorium. It's a huge place. And there's another from another angle. And there's from the stage, I guess, the baptismal pool is just kind of in front there. And then away up there, there's, I guess, that's where all the elites sit, or all the late ones. All the, if you get there early, maybe you sit in the front, I don't know. But it's a big hall. That's what it looks like on the outside. And these are some old, I guess, pictures of around that era. This is what it looked like on the inside, I guess, before they did the renovations. And this is now what it looks like. Okay, well, having said all of that, let's close this. There was some other pictures I wanted to show you, and it showed the back side. I thought this was kind of interesting. Let's just look here. It showed the back side of it right here, right down here. You see right there. I'll just blow this up. This is a huge building. So you can see that the yellow lines around there. Well, just in the front part is what we're actually looking at when we look at the thumbnail I made, as well as all the pictures that you have. But the back side, it's a big assembly hall. So there doesn't look like there's a lot of parking. There's a Wendy's behind it, so if you had to go for lunch, that would be quick. Now, what we're going to look at here is these guys, if you look at the sidewalks in front, apparently according to New York law, for these places like this, they have to take care of their own sidewalks in front of their assembly halls. So this was an article that Watchtower put out a few back in April, I believe, of 2024. I covered it. It was a trip and fall case against this assembly hall. So imagine you're going to the assembly. This is shows the legal. It's Haiti Coca versus Watchtower. So she's going to the assembly hall, and she tripped and fell, and had life-altering damages. She was hauled to, the emergency and so on and so forth. Missed the assembly, of course. And now her life has changed, so you have to sue to get damages. Well, I'll tell you what, suing Watchtower is not easy, but this shows the lawsuit went to the Queen's Assembly Hall. So they sued. I don't know what happened in this case. I'm going to go right to the end. She kind of talks about it. She says, or it says here, as a direct and proximate result of the defendant's negligence, that's Watchtower's negligence, the plaintiff was caused to suffer severe and permanent personal injury. So she fell fell on the sidewalk, tripped. Apparently, the sidewalk wasn't straight. So the plaintiff required hospital and medical care and attention, and will require such care and attention in the future. Extreme pain and suffering, mental anguish, distress, difficulty sleeping, difficulty walking. The plaintiff has been otherwise damaged, all of which damages are permanent in nature and continuing into the future. So this is why she had to sue the Watchtower. But then the Watchtower comes back and says, we're not responsible, New York's responsible. I don't know where this lawsuit is, if they settled. Maybe they settled out of court, I'm not sure. But without getting into a lot of the details, this Queens, has been sued for a trip and fall on the sidewalk. So now Watchtower brought this out that they sold it, this Queens, the same building. So now it's sold. It was put up for sale. Is it because of the trip and fall on the sidewalk and they had to pay that out? I'm not sure. Watchtower, I believe, is their own insurance. I don't think they have insurance for these things because they fight this stuff tooth and nail. So if you're going to an assembly, you could trip and fall and not get any monetary care from the Watchtower if you sue them. It's really hard to sue them for trip and falls or accidents on their property. So here's the lawsuit. These are lawsuits against Jehovah's Witnesses in the New York area. Could they be selling this building because of all the lawsuits? This is 3 lawsuits that were filed against Jehovah's Witness organization. This was back in 2021. When they sold the building just last year in October. And could that be it? Well, let's look a little further. I think it's more to do with this headline here, Jehovah's Witnesses handling of child sex abuse all over the world. And this is a really interesting article. I'm going to pin it. I'm only going to read the U.S. portion, just to give you an idea. But this article goes on to talk about the 2 witness rules, questioning from the victim, reproof and restrictions, how it's done in the organization. We've covered this on lots of videos. They give a comparison to other religions. How Jehovah's Witnesses is far different than the Catholic Church. Catholic Church, it's priests that they're dealing with, but amongst Jehovah's Witnesses, you're dealing with elders and you're dealing with the lay people and congregation members. Most of them are congregation members where they have issues. But you see, the 2 witness rule has caused a lot of problems. That's a rule that Jehovah's Witnesses have had and still have in their current elders book. But they have now recently made allowances in the 2024 Elders Book that if it's CSA, child sex abuse, that the elders are to follow the rules, follow the government rules. If you're supposed to report it in that state, then you should report it. That's what they're supposed to do now. But if you don't have to report it, they're not reporting it. They'll tell the family that you can go to the police, but they're not going to report it. Now, this article talks about their cover-up allegations. You know, how they were destroying records and everything. There was a 2014 investigation in the United Kingdom into them. Then we're all familiar with the 2015 Australian Royal Commission investigation. Now the New Zealand abuse allegations. And there's lawsuits. Now all these lawsuits, there's the Canadian lawsuits. Now what's happening in Canada, there's 2 class action lawsuits. There's one in Quebec and one in Toronto. The one in Toronto, it was reported that a Calgary, Alberta law firm subsequently began an investigation for a national class action lawsuit against the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Canada. And subsequently a nationwide class action lawsuit was filed in the Ontario Superior Court of Justice. So we have that happening in Canada and the United Kingdom. There was one charge. This gives this story here. There was a payout of 275,000 euros for the failure of Jehovah's Witnesses to protect the child from the pedophile, this known pedophile. So in the end, you know, they went back and forth in court. Watchtower had to pay the victim 275,000 euros in compensation. And do you know how much legal fees there were? The legal costs were estimated at approximately €1 million. And when you lose, you have to pay out the legal fees. So Watchtower had to pay out €1 million. That's like, it's almost like in Canada, that's like almost $2 million. I know in the US it's not as much, but that's a lot of money they had to pay out. So in the United States, I'm going to read some of this stuff because this is the United States. This assembly hall is being sold, among others, and many kingdom halls are being sold all over the USA. So here's what's happening in the US. In 2007, during a trial in Napa, California, the Watchtower Society paid an undisclosed amount without admitting the wrongdoing in an out-of-court settlement with 16 unnamed victims of alleged sexual abuse. So all of this stuff is being kept silent. It's being hidden. They're paying this out of court, and therefore they can get the victims to sign non-disclosure agreements, and then they can't say anything about it. So according to the court documents obtained by the NBC News, one plaintiff was awarded over $780,000 US dollars. 780,000. So in this one area alone, 16 of them. Imagine that's there's your $16 million for your Queens Assembly Hall right there. We haven't even gotten started. So in 2012. In California, the Watchtower Society was ordered to pay $21 million in punitive damages, in addition to compensatory damages, holding the society's policy not to disclose child abuse history. So, and then there was another one based on the ratio of the $10 million. So they appealed that, and of course they appeal it. They ended up paying $2.8 million, the Watchtower, in that particular case. In October 2014, the one in the San Diego case, where they wouldn't give over information, well, they kept holding back. They wouldn't, they shredded all the records. Everyone knows that, right? Well, here it is. The Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, a separate subsidiary of the Watchtower. The court sanctioned Watchtower $4,000. Get this, folks, $4,000 for each day that it did not submit the documents. Watchtower they're just withholding. They're not going to submit documents. So they said, fine, we'll just charge you $4,000 a day. And they did. And finally, it came up to $48,000. $48,000. Watchtower kept withholding, and finally they by the time of the appeal they had to pay $48,000. And Watchtower was ordered to pay $4 million to the plaintiff after this failure to produce documents. So, this is some of the stuff that's happening. It said here that this law firm said it was reported that the law firm representing these lawsuits filed similar cases in Connecticut, Vermont, California, Oregon, and New Mexico. We're just seeing the tip of the iceberg here, folks. These are cases that are hidden. We don't have all the details in them. These have come and gone, and Watchtower needs the money. A lot of this stuff was paid out. It's being paid out now as we speak. In 2016, Delaware attorneys sued Watchtower for them not producing records. Watchtower reached a settlement paying out $19,500 in fines without admitting guilt or liability. That's what they do. They just hold out, play the silent trick. It's theocratic warfare. And that's how they're trained. In 2018, a jury in Thompson Falls, Montana awarded $35 million to a victim of sexual abuse. And it got thrown out of court because of the Watchtower said, no, we're just like the Catholic Church. We want the same protection as the Catholic Church. We want the clergy penitent privilege, where we don't have to give any of this information over. It got thrown out because the clergy privilege was in place in Montana. Then the judge changed the laws, and so that went back to court. This case went back to court, and it got settled out of court. Watchtower fell to their knees. This went back to court, and I believe they paid out. These people got their $35 million. Again, it was done silently. Watchtower settled out of court, and it could be more, because if they had to go back to court and redo all this, they had to pay all those legal fees over again. So this is just the settlement, $35 million. I wonder how much the legal bills were. $1 million, $2 million, who knows? It's all kept secret. So now in July of 2023, a circuit court in Hawaii awarded $40 million in damages to a plaintiff against the Watchtower. She was abused by a church elder, a Watchtower Kingdom Hall elder. She was 12 years old in 1992. So the process initiated in 2020. Also found the abused in other girls for 23 years. This guy's been abusing girls for 23 years. So $40 million against the perpetrator. So it's hard to say, did the money get paid out? Did the Watchtower have to pay any of that out? They sued the congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, so who's their insurance? Who covers their insurance? Who insures the elders? You see, it's Watchtower. So Watchtower is going to have to pay a lot of this stuff out. So that's kind of it. When I look at these properties, this big property being sold, this Queen's Assembly Hall, $16.3 million, folks. That's just a drop in the bucket. That's just a drop in the bucket when it comes to what's going on behind the scenes with Watchtower paying out legal fees, paying out $35 million here, $40 million in Hawaii, all these other cases that are swept under the carpet and paid out of court. We don't know about them all, but there's a lot of lawsuits being paid out. So of course, just like the Catholic Church had to sell off 2 dioceses that I know of in Pennsylvania, the Jehovah's Witnesses are going to have to sell off assembly halls. Kingdom halls are not cutting it. They're only getting a couple $100,000 in some cases, maybe $500,000 for some of these kingdom halls. Are not getting the money they need to pay out these lawsuits, so they have to sell off these big assembly halls. So that's all I have for you today, folks. Remember, we always keep living our life with love. You can get these shirts right on our YouTube website, among other things, cups and hats and all kinds of things. So thanks again, and folks, keep living your day with love. How do you do that? Just don't go to the Kingdom Hall. Don't have anything to do with the Watchtower, because that is nothing to do with love. It's a real estate company taking care of liabilities, selling off assets. And if you're still a Jehovah's Witness, and you're going to those quick builds and you're building new properties for them, well, I'm sorry, you're doing it all for a real estate company that is running under the guise of a religion, and they're getting away with it so far. But here in Canada, we have a petition. The petition, you can go to the description of this channel, and we have a petition to shut them down as a charity. Why are these religions running as charities? Why are us taxpayers allowing this as a charity? None of their money is going to help the poor. They're sending all of their money to New York. Canada, for example, the average publisher in Canada is putting out about $525 US a year into the contribution box. That sums up to about $94 million in Canada per year in contributions. Well, guess what? A large portion of that goes out of the country. Doesn't even help the Canadians. None of it goes to help the poor in Canada. None of it helps anything else. In fact, if you're in trouble and you are in the Watchtower and you're in the Kingdom Hall, your elders will tell you to go down to the local food bank because they don't have a program to help you if you're out of a job, out of work. Watchtower does not have a program to help its people. So they will send you down to the local food bank. In a lot of cases, these local food banks, they're government sponsored. They're run by other religions. So guess what? Watchtower has a clause in the Elders book that says even if it's run by another religion, you can go and accept the food. You just don't accept the membership at the religion. And it's right in their Elders book. We've covered this many times on our channel, but I like talking about it because that's the fact. That's the way it is. And when I read the comments, you guys are telling me in the comments, yeah, this has happened. Elders have told us. And I see so many comments where the elders are telling the people to go to the food bank. And a lot of these food banks are religious run. So thanks again, folks. Keep living your life with love. We help our neighbors out. We help our friends. We do what we can, but we stay out of the Watchtower. Bye for now. See you on the next video.